It all started on a Thursday morning, the kind that feels too quiet before something terrible happens. The air inside Jefferson High felt thick, heavy, like even the walls were holding their breath. Students moved through the halls in noisy clusters, laughter echoing, backpacks slamming against lockers. But in the middle of it all walked Imani, quiet and alone. Her notebook hugged tight to her chest, her steps small but steady, eyes darting between the faces that barely noticed her. She was new, the only transfer student halfway through the semester, and that alone made her stand out. But it wasn't just that. Her deep brown skin, her soft southern accent, the calm way she carried herself, all of it made her a mystery in a place that didn't like change. When she entered her first period English class, the teacher smiled brightly. "Class, this is Imani Brooks. She just moved here from Atlanta. Let's give her a warm welcome." But the silence that followed said everything. A few heads turned. A few snickers slipped out from the back row. Imani smiled politely, pretending not to notice, and took a seat near the window. Her safe spot, where sunlight hit the desk just enough to remind her that the world outside was still kind. She pulled out her notebook, doodling tiny stars in the corner of the page, trying to blend in. That's all she wanted, to make it through her first week without standing out, without becoming someone's joke. But high school doesn't forgive quiet strength. It hunts it. It tests it. During lunch, she sat alone, earbuds in, pretending to scroll through her phone even though the screen was black. She missed home, her mom's voice, her old friends, the streets where she didn't have to explain herself. Every sound around her, the laughter, the gossip, the shouts, felt like another reminder that she didn't belong here. Still, she kept her head high. Imani had learned to be her own calm, her own armor. But sometimes, when you walk softly, people mistake your silence for weakness. And soon enough, that mistake was going to cost someone dearly, because the storm was coming, and it had Imani's name written all over it. It started small, the kind of small that people overlook because it doesn't look like harm, not at first. A missing pencil here. A whisper when she walked past. A note left on her desk that said, "Go back to where you came from." Imani pretended not to care. She kept her eyes on her work, her focus sharp, her voice quiet. But every little thing, every laugh, every stare, built a weight inside her chest that she carried home every single day. At lunch, she'd sit under the big oak tree behind the cafeteria, away from everyone. It was the only place she could breathe. She'd call her mom sometimes, just to hear a familiar voice. "It's fine, Mama," she'd say, even though it wasn't. "They'll get used to me." But she knew deep down, some people don't want to get used to you. They just want to break you. By the second week, the comments turned into open mockery. The group behind it was always the same: Chloe, Tessa, and Brittany. 3 girls who seemed to live for attention, for control, for the power that comes from other people's fear. Chloe, the leader, had that cruel kind of beauty. The type that made everyone laugh at her jokes, even when they weren't funny. It was during art class on a Wednesday that things started to turn dark. The teacher had stepped out to make copies, leaving the class to work quietly. Imani was sketching in her notebook, a portrait of her grandmother, her safe place on paper, when Chloe's voice broke the silence. "Hey, Imani," she said, her tone sharp with fake sweetness. "That's a cute shirt. Is it from, like, the dollar store or something?" Laughter followed, soft at first, then louder. Imani froze, trying to stay calm, her pencil trembling in her hand. She whispered, "Please, just stop." But Chloe leaned closer, pretending to inspect the fabric. "No, seriously, what's it made of? Feels cheap." She grabbed the edge of Imani's sleeve, just a small tug, but it made Imani flinch. That reaction was all they needed. Because to bullies like Chloe, fear was fuel. And now that they'd seen it, they weren't going to stop. Not today. Not until something broke. The next day felt heavier than usual, like the air itself knew something was about to happen. Imani sat in her seat, trying to stay invisible, eyes locked on the clock. Each tick felt louder, sharper. She could feel them watching her. Chloe and her friends, whispering, giggling, passing notes like it was all some game. But to Imani, it didn't feel like a game anymore. It felt like a setup. When the bell rang for history class, The teacher announced a quick errand to the front office. The moment the door clicked shut, the energy in the room changed. You could feel it, that thick, dangerous silence before something cruel. Chloe turned in her seat, her blonde curls swinging as she smirked. "Hey, new girl," she called. "Still too good to talk to anyone?" Imani didn't respond. She kept her eyes down, hoping silence would save her again. But silence didn't save her. It provoked them. Tessa snatched Imani's pencil off her desk. Brittany leaned over, whispering loud enough for everyone to hear. "Bet she's scared to even look at us." Imani's heart pounded in her chest. Her palms were sweating. Her throat tightened. "Please," she said softly. "Just stop." That only made them laugh harder. Chloe got up, walked over, and circled Imani's desk like a predator toying with its prey. "You think you're better than us, huh?" Chloe said, leaning down so close Imani could feel her breath. "Walking in here with that attitude, like this school's yours." Imani didn't even look up. "I never said that," she whispered. But her voice trembled, and Chloe heard it. Then, in one fast motion, the sound that would echo in Imani's mind forever, "Rip." Chloe grabbed the back of Imani's shirt and tore it open at the shoulder. The sound filled the room like thunder. Gasps. Laughter. Shock. A few students stood, not to help, but to watch. Imani froze. Her face burned. Her hands shook as she tried to hold the fabric together. For a few seconds, she couldn't even breathe. The humiliation hit like a wave. Cold, sharp, merciless. And then something inside her shifted. The fear drained away. The trembling stopped. Her eyes lifted, no longer soft, no longer pleading. That was the moment everything changed. Because Imani was done being quiet. The room fell into stunned silence. Even the laughter died off as everyone realized Imani wasn't crying. She wasn't running. She just stood there, breathing steady, eyes locked on Chloe with a calm that felt dangerous. That calm, the kind that comes right before a storm. Chloe blinked, her smirk fading a little. "What?" she snapped. "You gonna cry now?" Her voice trembled slightly, but she hid it behind a shaky laugh. It was just a joke. But Imani didn't move. She took one slow step forward. The torn fabric of her shirt slipped from her shoulder, but she didn't care. The embarrassment was gone, burned away by something stronger, something older than fear. "What gives you the right?" Imani's voice was low, steady. Every word hit like a weight. Chloe rolled her eyes, trying to act tough. "Relax. You're so dramatic." Another step. Imani was inches away now. "You put your hands on me," she said quietly. "Don't ever do that again." The room held its breath. Then Tessa laughed, a nervous, high-pitched sound, and shoved Imani's shoulder. "Oh, come on, tough girl. What are you gonna do?" And that was it. The moment snapped. In one blur of motion, Imani caught Tessa's wrist, twisted it outward just enough to make her gasp, and stepped aside, redirecting her off balance. Tessa stumbled into a desk, eyes wide. Brittany lunged forward, shouting, but Imani moved faster. She blocked the shove with her forearm and spun, sending Brittany tripping over a chair. The crowd of students backed up fast, the sound of metal legs screeching across the floor. Chloe froze where she stood. Her confidence melted away, replaced by shock. "You're crazy," she yelled. Imani stared back, voice quiet but cutting. "No. I'm done being your target." The door swung open, the teacher rushing in after hearing the noise. "What on earth is going on here?" she demanded. But all she saw was Imani, shirt torn, fists unclenched, 3 bullies sitting on the floor in disbelief. No one spoke. The truth was clear in the silence. For the first time, everyone in that room saw Imani not as a victim, but as someone who refused to stay silent 1 second longer. And that moment changed everything. The office smelled like disinfectant and old coffee. Imani sat in a hard plastic chair, still wearing the torn shirt, her hands folded neatly in her lap. The adrenaline had worn off, leaving behind a quiet ache, not just in her muscles but deep in her chest. She could still hear the echo of laughter, the sound of fabric ripping, the look in Chloe's eyes right before everything turned. It replayed in her mind like a broken film reel. The principal, Mr. Henderson, sighed heavily as he looked over the written reports. "Imani, I've spoken to your teacher and a few students," he said gently. "They confirmed what happened. You were defending yourself." His voice softened. "You did nothing wrong." Imani nodded, but she didn't smile. "I didn't want to fight," she whispered. "I just wanted them to stop." He nodded back slowly. "And now they will." By that afternoon, Chloe, Tessa, and Brittany were suspended. Parents called apologies forced. But none of that mattered much to Imani. What hurt the most wasn't what they did. It was how everyone watched. No one had stepped in. Not one person had tried to stop it. And that silence. It stung worse than the humiliation. At home that evening, Imani stood in front of her mirror. The tear in her shirt looked small now, almost insignificant, but she couldn't stop staring at it. That rip had exposed something deeper, a truth she'd been avoiding her whole life. She'd spent years trying to blend in, to stay quiet, to not take up space. But for what? To be invisible? To make others comfortable? She traced the edge of the tear with her fingers and whispered to herself, "Never again." Not in anger, but in clarity. She finally understood that protecting her peace didn't mean letting others trample it. The next Monday, when she walked back into school, the halls fell silent. Eyes followed her again, but not with mockery this time. With respect. Even fear. She didn't need revenge. She didn't need their approval. All she needed was her own strength. And now she had it. That day, Imani walked taller. Not as the new girl. Not as the target. But as the girl who refused to be broken. If you were in Imani's place, what would you have done? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful true stories like this.